Next up in the 2024 Heat Check series is Tennessee senior Dalton Knecht, who, with white-hot scoring prowess, just pushed the Volunteers to an Elite 8 appearance in the NCAA tournament. Knecht will have taken a fairly unconventional route to the 2024 NBA draft, playing 2 seasons at Northeastern Junior College in Colorado, then 2 seasons at Northern Colorado of the Big Sky Conference, and finally 1 season leading Tennessee. He's kind of a tweener 2-3 guard hybrid who stands at a lengthy 6'6". There's no official measurement on his wingspan just yet, but it is assuredly long, and he averaged 21.2 points, just shy of 5 rebounds and 2 assists per game, shooting 46, 39, 77 overall in his final collegiate year. Here's how Heat Check works. I'm going to identify one draft prospect and grade them on what I believe to be the most generally important skills and aspects of their game: athleticism, scoring, defense, passing and playmaking, and overall feel for the game. After those 5, I'll grade one additional skill relative to that prospect that I think is going to have the biggest effect on their stock. That will be deemed the swing skill. Each skill will be graded on the Heat Check chart, with ranges from freezing all the way to scorching. When that's all said and done, I'll divvy out one final overall score. Starting with Knecht's athleticism, I think by most standards he will be average in the NBA, which is great considering his plus size at the 2/3. He's got some real verticality to his game, 27 dunks in 35 games played, and he's got a decent amount of hang time to adjust shots near the rim on the fly too. He's certainly not at an elite level, but he'll have a good amount of above the rim finishing for an offense heavy player. Knecht plays a straight up, very upright game, as you'll see through the course of his video. The lateral quickness, the side to side stuff isn't great, but for the most part, Knecht isn't going to stand out like a sore thumb athletically in the big leagues. Knecht has built his draft case around scoring the ball, and is likely pound for pound one of the best pure scorers in this entire class, earning himself a scorching grade in this department. The simple stuff: 21.2 points on 46% shooting overall and near 40% from beyond the arc, already jumps off the page. He was an absolute offensive engine for the Vols this season, leading them in every offensive category under the sun. He can very comfortably score at all 3 levels, adeptly handling the ball, exhibiting really strong spot up and movement shooting, and an elite high-rising jumper. Per synergy, he ranks excellent on catch and shoot shots, very good on jumpers, and average at the rim and dribble jumpers, but that's not quite accounting for the sheer volume at which he scored. He had a top 25 usage rate among thousands of Division I players at 32.2. The only potential 24 draftees who boasted higher than that are both bigs, Deron Holmes and Zach Edey. In terms of play types, Knecht scored the bulk in transition, off screens, spotting up, and as the pick and roll handler. Simply put, he can do just about everything as a scorer. He can handle it, he can cut, post up, finish with both hands. He's a weapon coming off screens. That's going to be a legitimate focal point for him in the NBA. He's likely better off ball, which will fit his beginning NBA role perfectly, but he's capable of creating his own shot too. And to wrap everything up nicely, he's already got that near unteachable trait of drawing contact that nearly every NBA weapon has. I personally believe there's a real pathway towards him being the 2nd or 3rd best scorer in any 5-man lineup in the NBA, especially given the gravity of NBA stars, and that makes him an exceptionally valuable player in 2024. I've given Dalton Knecht a cool grade on defense. This is far and away the area he needs to improve the most in order to reach his maximum potential. He totaled 25 steals and 23 blocks in 36 total games, failing to make a big impact on that side of the court in a variety of areas. A decent chunk of his already low number of steals kind of dropped into his lap. Knecht's aforementioned upright, very vertical style of play really does not lend itself to strong defense in general. While his plus length does help a decent amount, he's not quick enough to stick with most true guards, but not strong enough to contend with legit bigs, leaving him pretty limited in terms of matchups. And perhaps most simply, Knecht just does not have that innate, natural feel for defending at a high level, be it through the counting stats, the eye test, you name it. There are some positives, of course. Knecht has decent shot blocking instincts, nothing exceptional, but certainly better than your average 2 guard, and it gives him a little leeway in POA situations and keeps him from a freezing grade overall. I wouldn't really classify him as a help rim protector, of course, but with his frame, he certainly offers more issues for scorers than undersized guards. I think that at least makes his floor and ceiling as a defender a tad better. We'll touch on his defense more later, but as of right now, it is the skill that would see teams pass on him in the upcoming NBA draft. I've gone with a cool grade for Dalton Knecht's passing and playmaking, but I want to make it clear that while he doesn't have as high a ceiling as a passer playmaker, that doesn't necessarily mean he's bad right now or that it hinders my idea of him as a player. Knecht is a willing passer of the basketball. He's got a pretty bare bones on the rails game, but he boasted a positive 65 to 61 assist to turnover ratio in his season with the Vols, which is pretty good for his archetype, and again the amount of time that he had the ball. I think there are a few things that don't quite feel natural to me on tape. There's a very little amount of creativity, especially off the dribble, and I just don't think his processing is very snappy. He just kind of sticks to the simple things, extra passes, some of the easier pick and roll reads, scanning for the open player. But I also think it's an area he's improved in greatly in a short time with Tennessee. Already he's learning how to better leverage his scoring gravity to create advantages for his teammates. And despite him being a 23-year-old draftee, I think he'll be able to continue to prove on this area in the NBA. And even if not, it's less sticky in his hands than plenty of pure scorers we've seen come through the draft ranks, which is just fine for my taste. In terms of Knecht's unquantifiable feel for the game, I've given him a hot grade. Averaging over 20 points per game at any level of basketball post-high school is pretty impressive, much less for one of the best collegiate teams in the country. And there's no real way to do that without decent feel for the game overall. I think there's a real art to scoring the ball without needing to necessarily function as the central hub or creator. And Knecht absolutely has it in that department. He's got natural feel in finding space, coming off screens, knowing when to rise up for those quick, deadly jumpers, drawing contact. He averaged nearly 6 free throws attempted per game. He's just a very complete product on the offensive end. Dalton Knecht is certainly a high field player, and I feel like the tape backs that up. For Knecht's swing skill, I tried to find something that wasn't just a repeat of the earlier defensive section, but it's such a glaring hole and very specifically the thing that could keep him off the NBA court. So I've decided to simply specify with his off-ball defense. We see all the time really talented collegiate scorers enter the league and quickly fizzle out due to being a net negative with glaring defensive issues. And I think the previous section highlighted that Knecht is certainly riding that line. Obviously, teams won't be rolling him out as some hounding point of attack guy, but I think there's a pathway towards him being hideable, maybe even a wash if he can get his off-ball play to a certain level. No, he doesn't have that lateral quickness or strength to become a real positive on that end, but I think there's a lot of tangible ways he can improve to where he's at least not being subbed out in crunch time, getting stronger, staying really attentive, and continuing to gain a better understanding of where to position himself on defense, continuing to really lean on that plus length and matchups. I think getting his off-ball D to a workable point could be what propels him from situational bench scorer to potentially impactful starter. The grade. I've given Dalton Knecht an overall grade of 7.7, which earlier in the collegiate season I thought would land players near the end of my lottery, but I'm quickly realizing that could very much round out my top 10. I really believe in Knecht's future as an impactful player in the NBA. I think there's no question he'll be a capable scorer, and I think he's got just enough tools and know-how to trust that he'll improve in other areas too. I think that Knecht will be one of the better positioned plug-and-play guys in this class. From a scheme standpoint, there's very few teams that couldn't benefit from his off-ball infusion with a dash of size. And I wouldn't put it past the team to think similarly and burn a top 10 pick in adding his pure offensive firepower to their lineup as soon as next season. And given the right circumstances, I could even envision some Rookie of the Year hype for Knecht next year. That's it for this one. Let me know what you think of Dalton Knecht, what you grade him, where you draft him, drop who you want to see in the next heat check. We'll see you later.